we're recording, it's in a different.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
And we can
Very
see your
good.
screen.
Very good.
You can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. I will call the Plan Commission meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you start us off with the roll call, please?
Yes, Tim Janacek,
Here.
Sharon Christensen,
Here.
Harlan Kai,
Here.
Dave Hageman, not yet, Chuck Soul,
Here.
Gina Larson,
Here.
Jessica Barmack.
Listening for you, Jessica.
I thought, is she still muted?
She's talking unmuted but can't hear her. I think that's something with her headset.
Oh.
Okay.
Does it looks like, did it look like her lips said here?
She's present. I can see her.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. I would like to initially thank all of you for your cooperation in getting this moved to Zoom in light of the dire weather forecast. So thanks very much for that, everybody. Next on the agenda is approval of our meeting minutes from March, was our last previous meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes, or at least hear some complaint if you're not going to approve them?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we're going to go right to the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. The minutes are approved. Next on the agenda, item 4 is an opportunity for public comment. Is there any person online who wishes to contribute a public comment? All right, hearing none, I'll move on to item number 5 and introduce Brian Standing. Brian, would you introduce yourself to everybody online and get on with a discussion about the amendment of ordinance OA-080 of our comprehensive plan regarding the Cultural Heritage Preservation Commission?
Yes, so my name is Brian Standing. I'm a senior planner with Dane County Department of Planning and Development. I assisted the town in the recent amendment to their comprehensive plan, and have also served as the project lead for some amendments to the county comprehensive plan related to cultural resources. Your Plan Commission Chair, Tim Janacek, served on one of the committees that was responsible for that cultural resources plan amendment as well. So this is essentially implementing something that was adopted by the county board as part of the county comprehensive plan. And what it would do is it would create a Dane County Heritage Preservation Commission. This commission would serve the role of historic preservation commission, both for the county and also for towns that are interested in possibly accessing federal money related to historic preservation. So this entity is designed to serve both the county's interests and towns that may want to pursue that kind of funding. So it's I think it's a benefit to the town, whether you take advantage of that opportunity or not. There's a process where a town could become a certified local government and access National Park Service funds for research and restoration of historic properties. If the town chose to do that, one of the requirements, though, is that the town has to have, that any entity that does that has to have a historic preservation commission that has a certain degree of expertise and authority. And so the county is, I mean, we recognize that many towns don't have a lot of resources and a lot of ability to do that. So part of the idea here would be the County Historic Preservation Commission could serve that role for any town that wanted to pursue that funding. There's no obligation on the town to do that, or to do anything in particular with historic resources, but it's an opportunity that would be presented to itself. The other thing, one part of this would be amending Chapter 15, which would establish the Heritage Preservation Commission. There are some citizen representatives on that, in addition to people with expertise in historic preservation. And then that would be appointed by the county executive. The other piece of this is amending the county comprehensive plan to tweak a little bit some of the things that the committee that Tim worked on a year ago. First off, we found out a little bit more about the appointment of these types of commissions really should be through the county executive, so we modified some of that language. If you want to scroll down a little bit, Stephanie, I can show you exactly what's being changed. So this is what establishes the commission, and you can see the composition there. So we're looking for someone with an architect or historical preservation background, someone from the county board, someone with some expertise in the cultural demographics of Dane County, someone with some knowledge or representation of arts, a representative of the Ho-Chunk Nation or an indigenous tribe, and 2 citizen members who are residents of an unincorporated area of Dane County. So most of this commission's work is going to be in the unincorporated area of the county, so we wanted to make sure there was good representation there. And then people who are interested in historic preservation. And then you can see their powers and duties, advising the ZLR, the county board, and the county executive on a variety of historic preservation issues, providing recommendations regarding grants, research priorities, as described in the Dane County Comprehensive Plan, and as I mentioned, serve as the Historic Preservation Commission for towns through an intergovernmental agreement. So a little bit of resource sharing. And then, so that's really what the commission does. If you want to scroll down a little bit further, Stephanie, I can show you what the plan amendments are. Keep going, please. So this is some of the new language that was adopted last year in the county comprehensive plan. If you keep scrolling until we get to something underlined in red, keep going. So most of this is staying the same. When the committee met and put these recommendations together, they had some very specific ideas of what that Heritage Preservation Commission should be. And with more thought about it, we thought that was probably best left to Chapter 15, which describes those commissions and exactly how they're composed. So rather than create a conflict with that and what we're proposing in the other section of ordinance, we decided it was best to just sort of delete this very specific language about how that commission would be established and leave that more to the discretion of the chapter that's appropriate for that. And then the only other thing that's changing is if you scroll down a little bit further, Stephanie, yeah, if you come here, there were some comments that we received about some of this language perhaps being not specific enough about exactly what the roles of the Department of Planning and Development would be, the Zoning and Land Regulations Committee, if they're approving rezones. Or conditional use permits that come through them. So we tried to clarify that language a little bit to make it clear, how someone would get this information that, that this something has been reviewed for historic significance, and what any recommendations from the Heritage Preservation Commission would be, that they're simply advisory to the zoning committee. The other thing I'd say about this ordinance amendment is we are certainly welcoming comments from anybody and everybody who wishes to. But since this is not an amendment to Chapter 10 to the county zoning ordinance, the towns are not obligated in any way to vote or provide comment on this particular amendment. So certainly would welcome any input that you care to give us, but don't feel like you're under the gun or have to take a position on it if you choose not to.
Good. Thank you, Brian. I'd like to mention to the commission members and other people listening that the way I got onto the committee that considered this matter is I asked the question, how do we know if there's a site, a historic or an archaeological site on some land in the township? which ought to be protected, such as when we consider a CUP or a zoning change, or the town wants to do something about a building permit. And we had no way to find this out because the locations of these archaeological sites, for the most part, are secret. Because otherwise Indiana Jones's rival would ride in and steal the stone cup or the idol's eye. So we could not find out where the sites are in our township if we were interested in identifying and protecting them. This amendment that Brian has described will create a way for us to find that out. Still maintain its secrecy, but at least we'll be able to look into it and see if there's anything we ought to be concerned about. So that's what I like about this amendment. Does that summarize the situation, Brian, correctly?
Yes, I like your Indiana Jones example. That's
Okay.
that makes it very clear.
Okay, and then let me ask you this, Brian, before I open this up to questions from the commission. We are the plan commission, and so we don't change the ordinance, but we are generally called upon to make recommendations to our town board, who would have to approve any amendment to an ordinance. Let's see. Is that the way you perceive it too? That it's
Yes,
the town board that has to vote?
That's true. Because this is not the county zoning ordinance, these are county ordinances that are completely within the county's control. There's no statutory obligation for the plan commission or the town board to take a position on either of these amendments.
I see.
So we would certainly welcome any comments that the plan commission or town board chooses to make. But there's not the formal role for the town to play that there is if we were amending Chapter 10 of the county zoning ordinance. Does that make sense?
I get. Yeah. All right, then I'd like to open this up to members of the commission who may have any questions for you or any points they'd like to make. Members of the commission, anyone wish to be heard? Just please speak up.
Brian, there's a lot of financial incentives in historic preservation from the state, primarily from the state for most private residences and such. Does this facilitate can this facilitate a homeowner who has a stagecoach stop within the house that they are living in that may in fact have some historic significance? And and how do we get them to be eligible for the tax credits if it's a Dane County landmark?
That's a good question. So the creation of a Heritage Preservation Commission is one of a couple of steps that would be needed to access those tax credits and also federal funding from the National Park Service. So there's a process by which a community can become what's called a certified local government, and that's through the State Historical Society of Wisconsin. There are certain steps that one would be adopting an ordinance that would cover properties that are of historic significance. One of the other components is this commission. So if it's something the town is interested in pursuing, that certified local government status, there's a couple of towns in Dane County that have already done that. That's something our office can assist with in the future. Much the same way we did with assisting you with your comprehensive plan. So this is one piece, but not all of the pieces that would be necessary for the town to access those kinds of funds.
The CLG fund, I'm familiar with that because we did that in the Village of Oregon for their downtown historic district.
Okay.
And they were able to get a significant grant to be improving the Main Street. Now, if there was, I'm trying to think, what is the process, the CLG process, or do we have to be finding significant historic, having our own historic inventory?
Well, I mean, we can, so there is an inventory. There are records of historic properties that are identified in the comprehensive plan in the last version that was just adopted by the town board. We included what was known in the town of Oregon, both from a architectural and an archaeological standpoint. The certified local government status does not require the town to do additional surveys, and that's not necessarily part of the process of applying for it. But you would have to have, as I said, an ordinance and a historic preservation commission, and there's a couple of other requirements there. The State Historical Society has staff that assists communities with that application. And as I mentioned, the County Department of Planning and Development would be happy to assist with that as well. Am I answering your question, Arlen?
Your answers are raising other questions, because
Okay.
if we were required to have our own historic preservation commission, that commission would not be doing much.
Well, this is what I'm saying is that we've talked with the State Historical Society and our own corporation council, and we believe that the county can establish a historic preservation commission that can also serve the town. So
That's the important one right there.
yes, and that's the intention of this commission. So Stephanie, if you want to scroll back to that chapter 15 amendment, you'll see that we're writing that right into it's up near the top of this section of the package. We're writing that right into the authorization of this commission, that they can fulfill that role for towns and also small villages that may not have the capacity to be able to have a historic preservation commission of their own. So
Okay.
a little bit further, Stephanie, it's up in the ordinance language. Next one. There we go. So if you stop there, and if you look at B3 there, so, there'd be a process through an intergovernmental agreement with the county where you could essentially borrow the county's Historic Preservation Commission and use that to help meet that certified local government status.
Okay, that's the one that's key, because I don't think we would have the capacity or the length of time in between historic projects could be extensive.
Right, exactly. That was our thinking when we tried to set it up this way, that this could work for all the towns, and between all of them, they might have enough work to do.
Okay, and with that, we would be needing to have an agreement with Dane County.
Yes,
Okay,
So work to be done in the future for people who would not want to follow up on this, but at present, it just sets the groundwork for future work in this area.
that's correct.
So, okay.
okay, if just so that somebody understands the potential of the historic tax credits, it's been changing, but you could be having up to 40% of the remodeling work that you're doing on a home commercial property back in tax credits. So you're basically getting something, remodeling a historic facility and getting 40 cents back on the dollar.
Okay, good.
Which is not insignificant.
No. All right, thank you, Arlen. Anyone else have any questions of Brian concerning this item on the agenda? Okay, so I'm understanding that we haven't been asked to make a recommendation, but we have
Jessica
created a
has a
record that,
question.
I'm sorry.
Can I?
Jessica has a question.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yep, I
Yes.
can even see you now.
Okay, good. So would the county, Heritage Preservation Commission or commission, be privy to the information about archaeological sites and so on? Is that in their
Yes.
purview?
So the Dane County Department of Planning and Development has an agreement with the State Historical Society that allows us detailed geographic access to the location of the archaeological sites. And that would also extend to the county commission as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're saying that was two bodies that had access. What was the first one? Was the zoning?
The department
one?
that I
And the
work
sec-
for, the Department
I
of
see.
Planning and Development.
I see. And then the second one would be this commission.
That's
And
correct.
what about the town commissions?
The access to that, so if access to that information is a fairly simple agreement that you can sign directly with the State Historical Society. There's some, GIS capacities, that would be needed to view some of that data. You would need particular GIS software to be able to look at it, but it's certainly something that the town could do if it chose to and wanted to have that access. Part of what my department is doing now is, as a result of the comprehensive plan changes, is if we get a rezone or a conditional use permit, we're going to routinely check all of those to see if there's an impact on an archaeological site or historic site. We're going to give the town a checklist that says, yep, we've checked it and there's nothing there, or we've checked it and there is something there. In which case, we would ask if there's an impact, a significant impact on a historic resource, we would sort of put the brakes on the rezone or CUP application, ask them to talk to our Historic Preservation Commission and the State Historical Society and see if there's any recommendations that they have about possibly modifying the proposal or something like that. And then we would share that information with the town as part of their deliberation on any CUP or rezone. So we're going to do that on our own, regardless of what the town does. So.
Got it, Jessica?
Thank you.
Thanks for that question. Anybody else have a question or a comment to make in connection with Brian's presentation? All right, very good. Arlen, I'm going to ask you as our representative on the commission to the town board to report on the substance of what Brian has brought up to us here tonight. Would that be okay with you?
I think that's my responsibility. Yes.
Very good, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda happens to also be Brian Standing's presentation. Brian, please go ahead with item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding the authorization for the Dane County Senior Planner, that's you, about the zoning petition for the blanket rezone of 13 parcels.
Yep. So the Dane County's Farmland Preservation Zoning Ordinance is up for recertification by the State Department of Agriculture this year, the end of this year. And part of what they do is they look at the plan map that we have in the adopted county farmland preservation plan, and they compare that to our zoning map, because state law says that we can't zone anything farmland preservation if it's not also planned for farmland preservation. So as many of you recall, when we redid the town comprehensive plan map, we changed some things from farmland preservation to not farmland preservation, and we changed some other things from farmland preservation to not farmland preservation to farmland preservation. So Stephanie, if you can scroll down to the map.
This map?
Yep, that's the one. Thank you. So as you can see, there's a number of parcels here that still are in one of the farmland preservation zoning districts, either FP35, FP1, or FPB. And because they're in areas that are not planned for farmland preservation in the town comprehensive plan and in now the county farmland preservation plan, we need to find other zoning districts for them. Now, in many of these cases, those zoning districts are going to be identical, right? So AT35 and FP35 have the same permitted and conditional uses. The only difference is that FP35 is certified for farmland preservation tax credits and AT35 is not. So those landowners aren't getting the tax credit anyway because they're not in an area that's planned for farmland preservation. So they're really not going to notice a lot of difference. Same with the FPB going to ATB there. That's the farmland preservation business to agricultural transition business. And then in addition, we found a couple of spots that were things like cemeteries. So put some of those in the RE district. I know that sounds a little odd, recreational zoning for a cemetery, but in terms of the way that functions, it functions in a way that's very similar to a park. So it's very compatible with that zoning district. And I think that's most of what we're doing. We've got a couple of properties that are going to RM16, and one of which we might need to have a deed restriction on it because it's used up the development potential under the town plan. The other one I think already has a house on it and is, so that should be fine. But that's really what it's about. All I'm asking for today is just authorization to submit this petition on the town's behalf. It would then go through the normal rezoning schedule. So probably looking at an August 27th public hearing for the ZLR. And just like any other zoning petition, it would be assigned a number and it would be sent back to you for town approval before the zoning committee would take action on it. So you'll see this again and you'll see this in detail. The other thing we'll do is, Stephanie, if you can scroll down a little bit further, please, is once we can submit this petition, scroll down a bit more, please. So that's a list of that's the list of all the properties that are changing and the parcel numbers. We've got the landowners and the names. And then what we'll do is we'll send a postcard to each of those landowners talking about what's happening, give them links to all of the zoning districts. Stephanie, if you can scroll down to that postcard sample. So there you go. So this is what we'll send to them. It will have, links and then, a QR code that they can scan with their phone. And it would take them directly to the information about the rezone. Did you just click on that? Did that not take you anywhere? Stephanie?
No, I didn't click on it. I think when I was trying to make sure that it was in my view, I did something here.
Okay.
Like in your view.
Okay. But in any event, oh, I see. You just zoomed in.
Is that what it is?
I think
Let me
so.
get out of it. Because I have the whole thing, like, maybe I did that with my rolly ball on accident. Gosh darn it.
But as I said, all we're asking for today is the
Now can you guys see it
yes.
on my screen fine? Okay,
Yeah, that looks good.
perfect.
So with these postcards, it would go to each of the landowners that are affected, and we would encourage them to contact us if they have questions, and then of course they'd be notified of the public hearing any further town meetings when the petition actually goes forward.
Okay. And Brian, if we fail to recommend to the town board, and if the town board fails to allow you to go forward, what are the dire consequences for the landowners or the town?
Well, the State Department of Agriculture could decertify either the town or the entire county farmland preservation zoning ordinance. I think they would probably only decertify the town, but it would mean no one in the town would be eligible for tax credits under the farmland preservation program.
Okay, so we better do something about that tonight, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
There,
All right. Anybody have any questions for Brian or comments regarding the item number 6 on our agenda? With,
Yes,
Brian.
Brian,
This
this
is
is
Dave
Harlan.
Hageman. I got a question.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm looking, I see the 4 Jensen properties are on here. And back in September 6th of 2022, I see in the State Journal, there was a petition rezone number 11885 for the Jensen family farm. And I looked up and it looks like these 4 properties got rezoned and they went from rural preservation rural residential district to FP farmland preservation district on 3 of them, I believe. So
Yeah,
if I'm understanding you right now, these will be coming out of farmland preservation then?
yeah, they're gonna have to because they're not planned for farmland preservation anymore. I think what happened is they were rezoned before the town modified the comprehensive plan.
Okay,
And then with the change to the comprehensive plan map, took it out of farmland preservation as a result of that. So we're gonna have to find something else for those. So I think we're proposing, unfortunately, these did not all come together on one page when I printed it, but I can't remember what we're proposing there.
Hey,
okay, because and on the bottom of the note in
Yeah.
the paper where it was posted, it said the reason was rezoned to reconfigure lot lines. And
Yes.
again, this was back in September of 2022.
Yeah, I remember that petition. I mean, it looks like those are going to AT 35,
Okay,
which, as I said, will have zero significance in terms of permitted or conditional uses.
the other thing
The
I
only
just,
difference is that it's just not eligible for the tax credit.
and since that time, Brian, I don't know if somebody should double check. When I went to Access Dane today now to look at some of these lots on Jerry's, the acreage is a little different than what's on the sheet that we're looking at here for a number of acres.
Could be. I mean, keep in mind that what you're looking at here is calculated from GIS. What you're
Okay,
seeing,
all right.
what you're seeing on Access Dane would be assessed acres. So they're not always exactly the same. David, does that answer your question? Did we lose you?
Rosen. Okay. All right. Can you hear us now, David? Okay, well, my thanks to Dave for catching that and asking about it. That helps. What is it? Anybody else have a question for Brian regarding the
I do,
these 13 parcels? Sharon?
I do. Brian, you mentioned that one may have to have a deed restriction put on it. Which property are you referring to?
You can see that note there for prohibit development. Stephanie, can you scroll up and maybe how many down is that? That's one. Let's see. Oh, I see. There's the parcel number there. So it's can you 050914286100? I think I've got that right.
One
And then if
four-
you scroll down, we could probably figure out whose that is. I think that's is that part of the Salins property there?
We're talking about this one.
Yeah, I guess it's a little further down. The one that says prohibit development.
So it's 5 down.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lake Harriet Cemetery?
That's what it's showing. Unless it's the Mellon property, but I don't think so.
Well, that doesn't make sense because I think it's Mellon. I think it's the Mellon one, but I can double check that when I have the full table in front of me.
Well, it makes sense that the cemetery can't be developed, so it might be right.
Right, but I think that's the one that's going to RE.
It's
Yeah.
not 23 acres.
It's
Anyone
not.
else anyone else getting that alert?
Yeah. No, I haven't yet.
what is it saying? Is it a watch or a warning?
That's usually a warning when they do it, when that
Like warning
alarm goes off.
for some up in Madison.
You wanna go down to your basement?
I am in my basement, so
Me too.
Please,
no,
folks,
I'm
please
pretty
do not
sure-
stay on the line if you feel you need to take cover.
okay.
We'll deal with it.
So far, so good. So
Okay. All right, Sharon, did that answer your questions?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else with a question for Brian about this rezoning. All right, I think this would be a good time for us to,
You've got a question.
Arlen
too,
has a
Arlen.
question.
I
Oh,
had
go
a question. We have every time the postcards go out, there are a number of questions from the property owners that say, what does this mean?
Mhm.
And I am always uncomfortable when they're uncomfortable and questioning, what does this really mean? And how will this affect me into the future when whatever my plans are, whether I'm going to be continuing to farm, not farm, sell the property, or look to dividing it. Is the QR code and that, how well is that written? Can we get a test? Can we get a sample of what it is that they're getting, or you have the
I'm-
right
I
here?
think what it's doing is going to the zoning district fact sheets website, which
Okay,
describes all the different zoning districts. So the idea would be they'd go there, look up, the zoning district that they're in, look up the zoning district that they're going to, and then we have my number, and email for questions. So if people have questions on that, we'll take responsibility for fielding those and explaining to people exactly what's going on their individual property.
okay, well then that's positive. As the previous ones that went out, there was no real things to compare to. So if you have a comparison with that QR code, this is good.
anybody else? All right, then I think the time would be for, to entertain a motion to either recommend to the town board that we approve or disapprove forwarding this, or allowing the county to go forward with our petition, with this petition for rezoning. I didn't restate that very articulately, but what I'm asking for is a motion to either move forward with a recommendation for yes to the town board or a recommendation no to the town board in terms of submitting this. Is that about right, Brian?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I'll move to recommend we recommend to the board to vote yes to allow this to move forward. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's just authorizing Brian to actually apply for the petition.
Okay, move to authorize. Yeah, what you said.
Okay.
And this is not for us, it's for, to recommend to the board that they take that action.
Yeah,
Okay, may I have a second?
A second.
Did you get that?
yep. Barmack, right?
Okay. Any further discussion or questions for Brian? Okay, then we'll have the question. All in favor of the motion authorizing or recommending to the board that Brian can submit this on behalf of the town, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say no. All right, that carries. Stephanie, do you need any more detail to provide that information to the town? To
No,
the town board?
I don't need anything more detailed. I just have David trying to rejoin again. And I wanted
Oh.
to see if we can review it with him and see if I'm gonna get a 7-0 vote instead of a 6-0, just because he wasn't on at the time.
Okay. And Brian, I'll ask you to restate the motion for us, or what you want from the town.
Sure. So
Let's make sure that Dave, can you hear us? Oh, he's still connecting to audio, so, I mean, we can
Let's
go
hope-
back to it too. But I just don't want it to say 6-0 in some things and 7-0 in other things.
No, and I would like to
Because
see
it-
Brian be able to get off the phone, so we'll wait for David. In the meantime, has anybody determined what the status is of that signal we heard? Stephanie's in her basement, so we're okay there.
I have National Weather Service tornado warning in this area until 7:45 p.m. Take shelter now in the basement or the lowest form of a sturdy building. If you are outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's Madison or Dane County or what.
All right. Stephanie, does it look like Dave is still trying to get on? Yeah.
I got two of him. I don't know. David, can you hear me? Okay, well, it's carried either way, so Brian, we can let Brian go.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
we
and
can
in
go
light
back
of-
to it.
In light of the
It-
weather report, I think we can dispense with further delay on this.
Yeah,
All
Okay.
right. Thank you
Good.
much.
Thank you, Brian.
Stay safe, everyone.
You
Thank
too. Thank you
you.
for thanks for everything tonight. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Item number 7 on the agenda is communications. Does anyone have any communications to convey? I do not.
I don't think so. I mean, Arlen will speak on any annexation meeting at his
The warning
point.
I'm now getting from the National Weather Service extends the tornado warning till 8 p.m. tonight.
Do we have the areas? Like, am I supposed to get my kids down here?
Doesn't say.
Wish we had a finished basement.
Okay. There being no communications offered, Arlen, I'd like to turn the chair over to you for a recap of some important information that the town board has come into, has taken in.
Okay, we have, we were invited to a meeting. See, that included Tim, myself, and Carl Walzer and Jennifer Hansen were invited to a meeting with the village, informational meeting regarding a potential for annexation of properties to the south of the village along Union Road. They would be including the Purdon property and one of the Anderson properties. These are on the west, primarily on the west side of Union Road. And there's a little triangle that's to the east of Union Road. The reminding everybody that the village does not go out and annex things. This takes property owners. So our neighbors have petitioned to the village. Do you have a petition to the village to for annexation? I believe this is about close to 100 acres. It's the 2 properties. And they have gone through a number of scenarios as to how this would happen or what the effect would be. Because we are now on the town hall, and some of the town properties are a peninsula cutting into the village. And since they have tax islands, so we have to have contiguous connection between town properties and village properties and the village boundaries. They gave us 3 scenarios as to what they could be. Oh, there we go. 3 scenarios as to how this could be annexed. But let's first hit to the schedule here. They're talking about a year of preparation, getting different appeals. Here we go. You got, this is scenario 1. Here's a good example. You see the reddish properties to the south. Can you scroll that up just a little bit?
Yep.
Okay,
I'm gonna try and get it in read mode for us here.
okay, that would be good. But you start seeing the two properties to the south, not the little triangle that's at the corner of Lincoln and Union Road. That
This
is not
one.
that is not part of the current petition for annexation. It is the two properties to the south. The northern one, which has that little triangle that crosses over to Union Road, is the Purdon property. The property to the south that's going along the railroad track is the Anderson property. Those two properties, they are talking, plus that little triangle piece that's across Union Road,
This one.
that one right there, would be, oh, now it is getting windy outside. This would be resulting in about 250 living units. A combination of some apartments, mostly single-family homes, and some smaller lot with alleys in the back so that they do not have garages on the front. They are looking at working this coming year. So there's no shovels being put into the ground for a minimum of a year. The development they're anticipating, if all goes well, could be over a 5-year period. This, let's see, connections. The connections are funky, very funky. If you see the rust color, they're using Lincoln Road or Union Road as one of the connectors, and also possibly the little triangular lot on the corner of Lincoln and Union. If you note, the railroad, for the most part, is blue. The railroad is town property. I'm not sure that we're collecting much taxes off of the railroad, but supposedly we have some jurisdiction over it. Usually railroads are like their own imposed government,
Private
and
property.
they're God, and
Mhm.
they have total control over their ground. Would you go to scenario 2?
Yeah. Okay, so that was scenario 1. Let's see if this is scenario 2. Does it say scenario 2 on this one? Nope,
That
this
says
is scenario 3.
Okay, that's a little bit more. There is very similar to
Got it.
1. There's scenario 2. Whoa, look at all the stuff that's in the town that is now part of the development. Or become part of annexation. In order for this to happen, all the property owners on that side would need to be petitioning to be joining the village. I do not see that happening, but it's a possibility. That's also some of our tax base. Quite frankly, the two properties to the south that they're looking at developing, the Purdon and the Anderson properties, that's just ag land. We actually lose very little tax base because it is assessed so low. So this is going to be raising questions, and this is where we are going to be, while we do not have any say about whether a property owner can be annexed or not annexed to the village. I think there may be other things that the village would be willing to negotiate issues. Everything from, well, if they're going to be having a massive redevelopment, and that, are they going to take over the maintenance of roads that are namely Union Road down to A? Is that going to be, I'm using that as an example of a negotiating in good faith. The village has come to us to be talking to us as a partner. They do not have to. They came to us. Tim, let me, correct me if I'm saying something out of line here.
That sounds the same as what I heard from them at the presentation yesterday.
Okay, so they have. And Tim rightly said, we are going to be pummeled by questions. And so we'll be needing information from the village and the developer as this goes along. They are going to be need to be talking to Dane County since they are also touching the Dane County Anderson Park. Or Anderson Dane County Park.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving parts here that need to be addressed, but this is pretty extreme here. I don't see it happening, but it could, or eventually it may. We're open to any questions from you so that we can be asking more questions as we continue to talk with the village.
I have several questions. What, does the village prefer one or two, or which one are they?
They did not have a stated preference. They think these are brainstorming maps showing the extremes as to what could happen. If you look at 1 and 3, they're basically the
Did we
same.
use 3 yet? Did I even put 3 up yet?
I don't
Well,
think
here,
we saw three.
why don't you put up 3? Because there are some subtle, you see, there does not include the property at
Is
Union
this 3?
Lincoln.
Yeah.
That's 3. That's 3. And you see it's still keeping our little industrial park and the rest of our property up into the Mateson property to the north.
And do all of them touch on Anderson Park? And when you say touch on Anderson Park, what does that mean exactly?
If you have the where the Union Road crosses the railroad, that's
Right here.
sort of the northwest corner of Anderson Park. That's on the east side of Union Road. Anderson Park picks up on the west side, south of Locust Road, which is not
It
shown on
does?
this map. So
It
they,
picks up on the west side, south of Locust Road. I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was all on the west side of Union Road.
no,
I
it's
mean, east side of Union
no,
Road.
and there's a big that's where they have the shared some of the community gardens.
Oh,
and-
those are part of
so-
Anderson Park. I didn't realize.
Yes, they are, as well as the house. And then there's a
Okay.
property to the south that borders on Union and A. That is an experimental farm. A parcel that's designated for experimental farming.
So would this absorb that
No,
portion of Anderson south of Locust Road on the west?
no, they're
side?
just saying that that's just where the property is. This is this development. This is the proposed development. That's it
Okay,
this time.
so where's Locust Road on the map that we're looking at? Can we see it?
If
on
you're
this
looking at
map?
about a quarter mile south of this orange,
Right, no,
uh,
I know where it is generally, but it's not on the map that we're seeing.
It is not on the
screen
map.
right now.
no, it is not. Because Anderson Park is not part of the proposal.
Okay, so it's
Other-
just, it's
other than they-
adjacent to the park, but it's not going to sort of negatively impact the park except.
Correct. Well, that's the discussion that they're going to be having with Dane County as to, is there an impact? What could the impact be?
Yeah, I mean, one impact it would certainly be a lot more traffic on Union Road, and then perhaps with, needing to widen Union Road. Is that something that they're taking into consideration?
They're taking into consideration not necessarily widening it, but anything that they take over. You see the orange part there, they are looking at putting curb, gutter, and sidewalks on those sections.
Ah,
So they would be improving this, that there would be some parking, 2 lanes of traffic, curb and gutter, and sidewalks.
But I'm remembering from when we were talking about the speed limit on Glenway Road, which ended up being lowered from 55 to 45, that, they were, that's when I personally learned about, the concentration of traffic dictating sort of whether the road was adequate. And I'm assuming that even with the dog park in place, that's become pretty popular. There's somewhat more traffic. It's not exactly traffic, but I imagine that this could really change things up. And I'm not, and also, is this affordable housing? Which I personally.
Is this what?
am pretty ver- What kind of housing are we talking about?
Single family, and multifamily.
Is
See,
it-
their market is looking for having some affordable housing. The affordable housing would be primarily on that little triangle to the east of, or that would be, where multiple family would be more east of that, of Union. They would be having small lot, single family residential, and slightly larger lot, single family residential on the rest of it. All told, it would be about 250 living units.
How many acres square is this?
From what I
100
I
acres, did you say 100?
think it's about 100 acres. I don't have the exact number here, but that's about. You could be looking up in the plat book as to see what that is. I think so. I'm sorry, I don't have the definite figure there. So you see that there, well, just in that, even at 100 acres, that's a density of 2.5 living units per acre. And even if it's more than that, it may be 2 living units to the acre rather than including roads. So it's a lot denser than what is allowed in the town. And they would be bringing sewer and water to this. This is still in their sewerage district.
May I add here, Arlen, that questions such as those posed by Jessica are questions we've been asked to collate, get together, present, so that we can all get answers to questions like that. This was just not thrown at us. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but we're just being alerted that this future plan is in talks right now. And we have been invited as potential partners to get all our questions answered. So I'm calling on each of my colleagues on the Plan Commission to start making a list of things you would like to know about this future development, and we'll try to hold the developers' feet to the fire and get some answers.
Okay, this is not the evil village coming and everything. This is our neighbors, our residents who are petitioning to the village, please annex us. And we're quite frankly, we're very honest about that this was their retirement fund.
Which neighbors, can you point? What are we
The
talking about?
northern part is Jim Pruden. The southern part is Jerry and Sue Anderson. And there's a Casey.
So this whole area right here are neighbors that have asked for this to happen.
Correct.
Yeah. This person, not. These people, not. But these are the petitioners. These are the people who have asked the village and developers to get involved.
Correct.
When are you pointing? I can't see who you're pointing to when you say this or these.
Yes,
Is it possible to?
you can't see this?
No.
Okay, it's the orange, that rust colored properties. The owners of those properties are our neighbors. Some are longtime neighbors, very long time.
Very long time, yes.
So
The larger lots on whatever side of the Union Road that is.
the
You know,
east side of Union Road would be multifamily. Trying to have workforce housing.
right. You
So
know,
there-
I'm not, oh, sorry, no, sorry. I guess I'm wondering, does it matter that there are neighbors and they want this? I mean, the Tofties wanted something and didn't get it. I mean, up on the corner of Lincoln and Glenway.
If
Oh,
they-
they've asked the village to annex as well.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I guess I'm working backwards thinking. Was it like with the Tofties, if we could have, I don't know, if we could have
No.
found a way to accommodate, then. They
We
would much
couldn't have
prefer to
because it
stay
was-
put.
we
because it was
couldn't
in
have-
transition.
Because it was within the ETJ and the village didn't want them to have another property on that lot. Because they were waiting probably for the annexation so they can have more properties than just one on that lot.
They were, remember the Tofties, was one of the splits. The family, when they divided the farm, divided it into using the splits. That 20-acre Tofty property no longer had any splits.
Right.
The Andersons and the Purdens wanted to, and they have the right to put some lots in on these properties. In that 100 acres, they could be maybe putting in 2 to 3 lots
Mhm.
because of the splits that are available, unless they were using splits from other parcels.
Mhm.
It's a far cry from the 250 living units that annexation to the village allows them.
Right. I guess I'm just saying that to me. In both cases, it seems to be more the village's agenda and it's immaterial whether what our neighbors want. I mean, we
The
don't,
neighbor, the
on the
neighbors,
one hand, you know,
the
it's not
village,
really-
the village is not soliciting them for annexation. Our
it's
neighbors,
not. Oh, all right. I
They're
thought the
not.
neighbors were on board, but.
no.
So they've got like a developer and they want to do this,
They want to do it.
gone to the village. And so did they
Yes.
go to you as well, or did the village come to you to sort of have you partner with them and?
The village came to us as they're trying to be good neighbors and communicate with us. This has not always happened in the past.
So, but the village is on board with this plan
Uh,
that they have.
the general plan, the scenarios of how they connect this parcel to village land is kind of up in the air. That's where the 3 scenarios
Right,
how they relate to this peninsula of land that is town property that cuts into the village. Those are the 3 scenarios that they were brainstorming, say, it could be this way, it could be that way, but it also depends on those property owners wanting to be part of the village.
right, but also wanting to capitalize on that land to
Could,
maximize.
could be,
profit.
except that our little industrial park is already developed. unless they start tearing things down and doing something denser, which is their prerogative.
So, and we don't have any recourse, we're just
None.
allowed to have information.
We
Right.
we have no recourse on that. If the property owner of our neighbor, if that neighbor wants to join the village, they have the prerogative to do that. The village
Because
does,
they're adjacent to the village?
if.
I mean,
as long-
not everybody has the prerogative to do
As
that.
long-
You
as
have to
long
be
as they are
adjacent to the
connected.
village.
As long as they are connected or across the street from the village, yes.
And in each of these scenarios, is there any room for argument that that's not a legit connection?
Well, that depends on how well we talk to the village and negotiating who's doing what to whom. And I think we've got a long ways to go to be defining issues. And to me, some of it is going to be that they're going to be taking over parts of our road, which eliminates some of our fiscal responsibility. It also means that this scenario does not have much impact on our tax base. Scenario 2, which incorporates all of the parcels in there, does have a bigger
Mhm.
impact on our tax base.
Mhm.
So we can be. So you
So
see,
you're
right,
saying that if we sort of get bullish about what is contiguous, then we end up losing because they'll just say, okay, fine, we'll take more of these properties that are part of your tax base.
Yeah.
In order
the,
to be
the
contiguous.
raw farmland contributes very little to our taxes.
Right, although it does
Develop
contribute
land.
to the rural character of the town to a great extent.
I think you have something that with the rural character and the visioning that's coming up, the visioning sessions that will be coming up, this will be part of that discussion, I'm sure.
Arlen, I have a question about the scenario that I'm showing now. Which one is this? Scenario
I think this
three?
is
Three?
Yes.
Where it's just the street and curb and gutter that they're trying, or that they're proposing be annexed. Was there conversation about how this one in particular could potentially be one that if the town so choose, I don't want to say fight, but dispute?
We can,
Just because it's only the curb and gutter and they're not, you know what I mean? Like, is this one that they talked about in the
They would
meeting
take over-
yesterday?
they would be, everything that's in the orange, in the rust color there, they would be taking over maintenance from snowplow to
Mhm.
paving to curb and gutter.
Mhm, mhm.
So
But it's just a street. They're not really, it doesn't look like they're taking any of these properties. It's only the
correct.
portion of the street, so it's only ours to be given. So is that one of them that the township has any skin in the game? The other ones, if the other properties decide that they want to sell to the village and annex the village, we don't really have any say in that, what happens with that.
if they wish to, that is true. Just
Yeah.
like we have no say here, but the village is coming to us to be saying,
Yes.
we want to be good neighbors and partner with you in the discussion. And that's where I think we judiciously see if there's something that we can leverage on that is to both of our advantage.
Yes.
We've got there's going to be a busy year and a half of discussions here before, like, for instance, we want to be sure that with all the equipment that comes through here, we would be wanting them to be bringing their gravel trucks, heavy equipment up from A onto Union into this property, especially with Payne and Dolan being right across the street. That would be supplying the gravel for the roadway, rather than coming Fish Hatch and Lincoln. We brought up that as an issue, that we would be very concerned about the heavy equipment, gravel trucks, cement trucks, etc. Use as few of the town roads as possible, come up the county road from A, up Union to this parcel. And that is quite possibly, and they were looking that was a possible condition that they could live with. But nothing is set.
Okay.
I'm just reading that there's a lot of nodding of heads. Oh, yeah. That's no agreement. That's just nodding heads.
Thank you, Arlen. I considered it very important that we bring this proposed possible future development and annexation to all of you, and then Arlen will take this on to the town board so we can all be thinking about what it is we would like to see
Yes,
happen, and our leverage, if any, is contained within this offer of partnership with the village. The village is asking us, what can we do to make life easier for you? I may be oversimplifying that, but the village has made the gesture of asking us what would the town like to do to make this more palatable. And the village, to kind of close the circle here, the village doesn't have to accept this petition from these landowners. They don't have to annex if they don't want to. But that's where it is now. The village is in a growth state. So I think Arlen and I agree that this is something that the village is interested in pursuing. And it would behoove the town to get involved early, to start making some demands or suggestions to make life easier for us, knowing that we can't stop it. Is that about right, Arlen?
yes. So you're bringing questions and suggestions would be important.
What about,
You're
why,
gonna be-
you know, one
you're
thing
gonna-
that,
Yes. You are
one
going
thing
to
that,
be getting asked a lot of questions by your neighbors and residents of the town. Jessica, I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
it's okay. Well, I'm looking at this, whatever draft is up here now, and it seems to me that it would be better if the red, you know, the blue part on the top that says property to be remain town of Oregon, if that were red instead of the bottom block of red. In other words, it would be nice if we could just sort of have all the development stop at Anderson Park, so that you'd have all that green space. I mean, there's a view that people have at that Anderson side of Anderson Park that will be utterly lost, and that will be really a loss for everybody. And it will certainly affect the rural character, but it will be a loss for everybody who uses that park, because it's a view that will be gone. Whereas, I mean, if that field to the north were used instead, then you just would have all that residential area would be just one big block, and it would not interfere with the green space south of it. So that's my biggest complaint right there, as somebody who dearly loves that park. I have many times looked to the west from that park on those trails and really enjoyed the view, and that will be gone, and that will be a collective loss. And there's that whole field north of it that could be used instead.
That is a different property owner.
That is a hurdle.
Yeah. Both of these property owners are eager to, whatever, you wouldn't want to say eager, but they are the ones who petitioned the village, whereas this one did not. So this property owner down here, if we did what you were saying, wouldn't have any gain in switching that, because they're not the same property owner.
Is there nothing that could be worked out potentially?
Until that north property owner, yeah, they're different owners. And that north property owner has his own agenda.
Hey, Arlen, quick question for you. Who owns the V on the bottom of that parcel where the railroad tracks are to the left and Union is to the right? There's a parcel in between that stays, looks like vacant land. So actually there would be a buffer between the development and Union Road there between the railroad tracks. Am I reading that right?
You are, and I believe that's where the Anderson homestead is, on that triangular property that goes all the way down to Locust Grove Road.
Okay, and what are you saying is
There's a farmstead there.
okay. And then, but Anderson owns that triangle right next to the log, the forestry guy on Union Road there, right across the street.
To the east of Union Road is the Schultz Woods, which is part of the Anderson Park.
Okay,
And then you go down that, there's an open prairie, and then there's the dog park. Yeah, that almost goes down to A.
right.
And there's another parcel that I believe, I'm not quite sure if that's also owned by the Anderson Park, or if that's optioned, or if that's owned by the Anderson family. I am not sure. To the west of Union Road, from the corner of A and Union Road to the railroad tracks, that all is Anderson Park up to Locust Grove Road. So there's a great deal of land to the west from Locust Grove to A that is Anderson Park. It just is more developed as community gardens and experimental farming.
Chuck,
Wow.
did you hear my comments about that triangle parcel to the north of Anderson Park?
What triangle parcel?
The one that runs along the railroad track?
In
Just
between
west-
Union Road and, mhm.
Yes, just
No.
west of the housing and between Union Road and the housing, that
Yes.
parcel right there.
That is not Anderson Park.
That is owned by Jim Purdy.
Yeah, by Jim Purdon, yes.
And
Who-
that is their connection. That is their connection to the village.
That is one of the connections to the village, yes. Well, actually, it's not, because you see the railroad is green. That's town.
It is?
That's town.
Okay.
Part of our, that is part of our connection to the rest of the town.
So in this scenario that's up, where is the connection to the village?
They are, you see where Union Road gets extended?
Yes,
Bingo,
right, that little piece?
that little piece. They're also looking at that parcel, that triangular parcel that's on Lincoln and Union. But those people, or that family, has not joined in this development. I think
Not yet.
they may be talking to them. They're not there yet, so.
And that's a local developer that's doing this, right?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. It's a Gorman Company.
Right, okay.
So the
Okay.
Gorman Company is doing the lead development on this. And their construction managers would be doing the construction management.
Are Jerry and Sue Anderson of the Andersons who donated the land for Anderson Parks?
They did not donate the land. They
Or
sold it.
sell the land? They sold it, but it is that.
They
family.
sold it to Dade County.
Yeah, I mean, they do have, doesn't that family have sort of roots in being sort of naturalists and
One of the Schultz, they dedicated the woods to one of the family members who died tragically early.
but isn't Bicentennial Park also by extension in Anderson Park? No?
No.
I thought that,
No,
there's a
that's the-
sign up there that refers to. I
It's
thought
a,
it was a-
it's not part of the Anderson properties. And that was another family that purchased the land and dedicated it to the town.
Yeah. I think that
Mm.
if it's, the northern side is surrounded by fields and, it's just, it would be so sad to lose that southern side to development. And it is just such a pity that it couldn't, in terms of just planning from that perspective, to have this go either west or north and not that
This
far
is-
south.
This is the prerogative of the landowner to pursue this.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with the fact. I'm just saying, if there's discussion that is possible, I would hope that that might be explored, or at least the concern raised that it's a collective loss for everybody who uses Anderson Park, and might there
Hey,
be other
guys,
ways?
We are now under actual warning for a tornado. It just went off in my neighborhood.
Oh, dear.
So I'm going to log off because
Okay. Okay.
I got kids that need to be taken care of,
formal about-
so.
Stephanie, I will be formal about it.
Okay, thank you.
In light of the weather emergency and the fact that we've completed or at least made substantial progress on all of the items on the agenda, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned. Any objection? Okay,
No.
you think about this. Thank you very much, folks. Everybody get to safety now, please.
Thank you.
You-
Okay,
Bye-bye. Yep, come down. You can come in. You have the dog? All right, come on, bud. You okay? Yeah, you're fine. Are you gonna stay in your meeting? Nope, I'm leaving my meeting right now.